A very good afternoon, and thanks for clicking on to Vogan's European Outlook for Monday, the 3rd of April. Before we get into the video, please like, share, and subscribe. Remember to visit markvoganweather.com. I have recently released the Europe Outlook for April 2023, and you can see here that there is plenty of information in the article with regards to what was seen back in the month of March. Also comparisons to some of the previous Marches that delivered some very cold conditions. Of course, we had a cold start versus a mild end to the month of February, but plenty of information, like I say, in that. And then I go on to talk about the month of April, and I really think the one standout thing with regards to the month of April will be the fact that I believe it's going to be a drier than average April, and that is going to be, of course, in stark contrast to what we've seen during the month of March, of course. So, like I say, do check that out, have a read of it, let me know what you think down in the comments section below of that forecast. And indeed, this is a publication from the Met Office talking about the wettest March in over 40 years. So you have to go back to 1981, the last time that England and Wales recorded such a wet March. So that is very, very interesting statistics coming out of the Met Office. So this is, of course, the anomaly chart here from the Met Office for rainfall across the British Isles. Notice here Western Scotland and the north seen a slightly drier than average March, in stark contrast, of course, to England and Wales. And this temperature anomaly, or should I say precipitation anomaly, is almost identically different, a complete flip around to the month of February. And we had, these dark blues representing over 200% above the average for rainfall, was almost the exact opposite, with the browns representing less than 20% normal rainfall for the month of February. So very, very big fluctuations and swings in the rainfall across the British Isles. The lack of sunshine during the month of March is also very notable indeed. You can see here that we had 30-50%, if you're lucky, of normal sunshine for the month of March, which is quite interesting. And indeed, temperature-wise, we had a slightly colder than average March overall, especially across the Highlands of Scotland, slightly warmer than average across parts of Lincolnshire, Norfolk, down into southeast Wales, and also the southwest had a slightly warmer than average March. But the overall temperature anomaly, interestingly enough, was minus 0.3 Celsius below average for the UK as a whole. So marginally, fractionally below the average temperature-wise for the UK. Minus 0.2 Celsius for England, minus 0.4 for Wales, and minus 0.6 for Scotland. Northern Ireland was actually the only nation in the UK that recorded slightly above average in terms of the temperature anomaly. So that is indeed quite interesting. And we do have some interesting fluctuations at this time of the year. Natural occurrences when you've got an area of high pressure in charge, clear skies, light winds, by nighttime temperatures go below freezing, and you get that rapid drop off in temperature, especially once the sun drops below the horizon. Then you get these rapid increases in temperature once the sun gets going. And that's exactly what we have. These large diurnal temperature fluctuations between the 12-hour period is very common at this time of the year, because you've got the strength of the sun allowing the temperatures to rise 15, 16 Celsius, and quite typical now at this time of the year. But also you can get down below the freezing mark during the overnight period, albeit the hours of darkness is now becoming less and less. So what is interesting to see, we've got this kind of fluctuation between day and night across the UK. So you notice here between each frame. So this is the difference between 1800 this evening and 00 UTC tonight, so basically midnight. And you notice here that the UK in particular goes from above average during the afternoon, especially across the West Highlands, if you notice here. Slightly cooler down the east coast because we've got that easterly onshore wind. But notice here the blues return during the overnight period. So that's that big swing in temperature. Dry, clear, calm conditions sees the temperature rise and fall a lot quicker. Very chilly conditions across the central portion of Europe. The reason why we've got that is if you look at the overview chart, we've actually got an area of high pressure centered over the eastern portion of the North Sea, close to Denmark. We've got winds coming around that area of high pressure out of the northeast. So we've got a fairly cold air mass. You look at the 850 temperatures of the GFS, and you can see here that we've got some reasonably cold air over the central portion of Europe here. We've got slightly milder conditions across the UK, as you can see here. If we play through this 2 meter temperature anomaly chart here, you can see the fluctuations over the UK. Some fairly cold air tomorrow morning, by the way, over the majority of the UK. There's those oranges reappearing. Notice that across the British Isles here. And then we can see the return of blues more specifically across southern portions of the UK. So England and Wales going to see cooler conditions as that easterly wind comes in across the northern half of the British Isles. But we've got the cloud cover and we've got a frontal system moving in from the western, from the Atlantic. That is going to bring a bit of a decrease in temperature eventually across the northern half of the British Isles. But with sunshine further south, you can see the warmest conditions. But you see this back and forth across the UK between below average and above average due to the area of high pressure. We are going to see some wet conditions moving in during the middle portion of the week. And then for the Easter weekend, it looks as if high pressure is going to return once again. And I think that is going to be the recurring theme through at least the first half of April. And therefore, we're going to see below average precipitation. The UK or Central Europe and even southeastern portions of Europe seeing some fairly chilly conditions across the board here. Then you start to see the kind of back and forth here with underneath high pressure, warm by day, cool by night, of course. Look at Iberia starting to warm things up by the time we reach Sunday the 9th, which of course is the second half of the weekend here. And you just this kind of slight fluctuation back and forth in terms of temperature. So looking at the 850s here, we're playing through the loop and you can see what is taking place. We've got that high pressure delivering some cold air from northwestern Russia into the central portion of the continent. Mild air getting drafted north, as you can see here with incoming frontal systems. We're pulling our air in from a south direction rather than the north. Still feeling quite chilly with that onshore wind. As you can see here, we'll play through the loop. The cold air maintains itself over Central Europe, as you can see here, for a period of time. And then we'll start to lose that cold air. But notice what's starting to happen. We're starting to transport some of that chillier air, but not as cold as what we've got now, across the Baltic Sea, underneath an area of high pressure that is centered over Scandinavia. And we're starting to pull that air towards the British Isles here. So notice what's taking place here. If we look at the 850 temperatures here, remember what I showed you towards the end of March and into the first day or so of April, that we start to see a kind of northerly block developing here, an area of high pressure up towards Scandinavia and drawing our air in from an easterly direction. What that does, by the way, is it keeps the eastern side of the UK chilly, but in sunshine and to the lee of the mountains, you can actually get some pretty warm temperatures, actually 16 to 18 Celsius quite easily. Places like Kinloch Heugh, for example, could see warm temperatures, especially if you've got that east to west wind. As those winds cross over the hills of the Northwest Highlands, you can get some fairly warm temperatures in that northwest corner of Scotland at this time of the year. Parts of North Wales, for example, parts of Northern Ireland also in that northwest coast up towards Helens Bay, for example. There's prone spots. Liverpool, places like that, Blackpool, can see warm temperatures, whereas in the east coast, with that easterly wind, temperatures could be stuck 6 to 8 Celsius quite easily. So we get these big temperature variations between the east and the west at this time of the year. And that is exactly what we could start to see. So this is as we progress towards the middle portion of the week. You see there's that frontal system. We get kind of fragmented rain, as you can see here. And there's some of the models are indicating that a little area of low pressure tries to develop. And as it does so, what it may see that right at the very end of the frame there, notice that little area of low pressure looks as if there's nothing there, But on the back side of that front, as it moves out into the North Sea, you notice here it develops. And what that may do is it may try to hold on and increase the rainfall over some parts of the eastern side of the UK, Scotland, and England during the course of Thursday. Then, as you can see here, there's that area of high pressure trying to regenerate once again over the UK, settling things down. And into the Easter weekend, you start to see the area of high pressure starting to focus over Scandinavia, follow the isobars, the lines of equal pressure underneath. We've got some fairly cool air, not particularly cold air, but cool air to the south of that high, focused over the northern portion of the Baltic Sea. That may try to transport some of that chilly air from places like Russia, from the Baltic states, across the southern side of the Gulf of Bothnia, through Denmark and pushing towards the British Isles. What will also happen is this area of high pressure, if we can start to see the flow going from east to west, may try to push back this incoming frontal system from the Atlantic. So these are all scenarios that are worth paying attention to as we go through the remainder of this week and then towards the weekend here. But the overall take home from this, folks, is the fact that I think this is a very different type of weather pattern during the month of April versus what we've seen back during the month of March here. So I think I've rambled on long enough. Of course, you can follow my daily weather updates on both Facebook and on Twitter. Do check out marfoganweather.com. If you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button here on the channel as well for daily content. Enjoy the rest of your Monday, and I'll see you again hopefully tomorrow with more.